Hey, what is up guys? Josh of Yugatech, and with mobile gaming continuously improving and getting more exciting, so do the gaming smartphones we play it on. From custom RGB lighting to water cooling, and even customizable buttons, they just have things that regular smartphones don't. And last time, we were able to do a quick hands-on of the Black Shark 4, but now we'll be going a little bit more in depth. So without further delay, let's get started. In hindsight, the Black Shark 4 isn't as striking as most phones in this category. There's no RGB, the design isn't too flashy, and if you can notice, it's a lot more toned down compared to its predecessors. But if you look at it long enough, you'll notice some reassuring features that make you realize that this is no ordinary phone. Like its angular triple camera module, and this X design with a holographic finish that pops out when subjected to enough lighting. The color variants got us a little bit confused since on the official global website we can see it's only available in pale gray and mirror black. But on some e-commerce websites we do see it available in illusion black, so we're not exactly sure which one of the last two is the right one. But as you can see, this one that we have comes with a subtle blue finish. Though there does seem to be a plain black version as well if you search hard enough. Now, initially, we thought that this had an extra layer of glass, but now we can confirm that this is made out of polycarbonate material. But despite that, it still does a strangely good job at keeping fingerprint marks away. The hard case that comes with the phone does have some extra cutouts for the camera and the Black Shark logo, and apart from preventing scratches, it will also give the device a chance to have that gamer aesthetic. Holding the unit together is an all-metallic frame. It comes with a thickness of 9.9mm and has some good heft to it at 210 grams, which, if you're wondering, is similar to how much an iPhone XS Max weighs. Starting from the top, we have a couple of things here such as your secondary microphone and a top firing speaker. While over at the bottom is your primary microphone, a 3.5mm headphone jack, the Type-C charging port, and your bottom firing speakers. Next up, on the left side we have the volume rocker keys. Beside that is the third microphone and your dual SIM tray with no provision for a micro SD card. On the right, we have your power button that doubles as a fingerprint scanner, and finally, taking it home are those pop-up magnetic triggers that engage by sliding the mechanisms beside them. It also makes these cool gun cocking sounds when triggered, and I just really can't get enough of that. The Black Shark 4 employs a 6.5-inch Full HD Plus Super AMOLED display with a pixel density of 395 pixels per inch, a 20:9 cinematic screen ratio, HDR10+, and has a peak brightness of up to an impressive 1300 nits. This is pretty much your top-of-the-line quality flagship grade panel that you can find in similarly priced and even more expensive devices. Now, by default, the color scheme will be in saturated mode, which explains why the display has been so punchy and vibrant. But you can always change that to standard contrast or just simply leave it on auto mode. On top of that, you can change the color temperature to warm, cool, or custom, but we'll keep everything at default for now. Tying everything together is a refresh rate of 144Hz and a crazy touch sampling rate of 720Hz. So aside from a buttery smooth experience, this should be a great advantage when you play those competitive fast-paced games. More on that in a moment. As for audio quality, we're quite impressed with what Black Shark likes to call their symmetry speakers. Not only do they have separate outputs, but it's also loud, balanced, and crisp, leaving you with an immersive multimedia listening experience. What's not so immersive though is how they're mounted at the top and bottom of the phone, which can easily get muffled when holding the device in landscape mode. We hope the next iteration of this comes with dual front-firing speakers instead, since not only does that solve being covered up by your hands, but it also keeps the sound pointed towards you and not anywhere else. Running the software department is Android 11 skinned with JoyUI 12.5, which is essentially Xiaomi's MIUI interface but has been stripped down and is more focused on gaming. One of the main features here will be the dedicated Shark Space app, which can be activated by either tapping on the icon like normal, or if you want to be extra cool, then you can also hold down the left and right triggers for a few seconds, and it'll open up as well with that lovely Shark Space animation. Now, this is the fourth iteration of their software, and what this does is give you a one-stop shop to access all your games, customize or choose CPU presets, and if you just want to completely zone out without any interruptions, you can do that as well by tapping on the dive mode feature on the top right side. Now, if you're in a game, you can also swipe on the corners to activate Gamer Studio, giving you a plethora of options to pick from. And when I say a plethora, I mean numerous different configurations like mute calls and notifications, the ability to add custom crosshairs, instant replay with shark time, clean up RAM with one tap, view CPU and FPS stats, and so much more. This is where you can also configure the master triggers, and by just hovering the virtual buttons to where you want them placed, it makes it very easy to set up. And if you're not playing games, they also serve as shortcut buttons that can be customized to different functions. By default, one will be for taking a quick screenshot, and the other triggers one-handed mode. Other Blackshark features include Video Toolbox, letting you quickly save and share anything you're watching with your friends, a pretty cool lighting effect that comes on when you're playing music or if someone is giving you a call, Magic Window that acts as a quick shortcut tab that you can pull from the side, letting you access apps and floating windows for multitasking, and of course the familiar second space that we see in Xiaomi phones as well, if you need more than one account for some apps. Underneath the hood, the Blackshark 4 is not to be underestimated, packing a Qualcomm Snapdragon 870 CPU paired with an Adreno 650 GPU and comes with either 6, 8, or 12 GB of RAM. It shares similar hardware specs to the likes of Xiaomi's very own Mi Mix 10S and the more recent Mi 11X series. It's basically a slightly tweaked version of the Snapdragon 865 Plus, packing a prime core clocked at 3.2 GHz that takes care of all the hard work, 3 additional A77 performance cores at 242 GHz, and 4 efficient cores clocked at 1.8 GHz. It's currently at 17th place in Antutu's global ranking scores and is positioned right above the Oppo Find X2 Pro. Needless to say, this high-end SoC can handle virtually any game you throw at it, with everything being able to run on practically the highest preset available. It even managed to max out 3D Mark's Slingshot Extreme Test, so firing up graphically intensive titles such as Genshin Impact will not only run smoothly as intended, but should also leave you visually satisfied, which is usually one of the harder things to accept when playing this demanding title from a lower spec device. It does heat up though, and maybe after playing a few hours straight at room temperature, it does get noticeably warm. This is where the Blackshark cooler would be a great pair for these type of situations. But unfortunately, we didn't have that to try out. What we do have though are these satisfying and tactile triggers that should give you a great advantage when playing competitive shooters such as Call of Duty Mobile, PUBG, or maybe even Apex Legends. They're quite comfortable as well since the placement of the buttons will be right where your fingers naturally rest. We're not going to go through every single game since this is obviously a very powerful phone, but if you're interested in benchmark scores, we're flashing that right now. Keeping everything together is a 4500 mAh capacity battery, and initially we thought it was going to be a problem for this device, seeing that this is a pretty power-savvy phone. But specs are one thing and results are another. So we put this in our usual video loop test, and we were still able to get a respectable 18 hours and 21 minutes before running out of juice, while the PCMark battery test puts it at 8 hours and 9 minutes. Big battery, small battery, it doesn't really hold much of a difference for this phone in practice, and that's because it comes with a 120-watt fast charger that Blackshark touts can charge a full battery in just a crazy 17 minutes. We did notice though that some people got a smaller 60-watt charger, but thankfully ours came with the right one, so this way we get to do an actual test. From a completely drained battery, we got a mixed set of answers for our battery testing. On our first try, we were able to reach 50% in 8 minutes and 23 seconds, and fully juiced up in about 24 minutes. While on our second attempt, it took relatively longer to reach 100% with a total of around 35 minutes. Nevertheless, these are still respectable results. Remember when 50-watt charging was already considered fast? So to be able to charge this in such a short period is going to be a big plus, especially if you're frequently out and about. This might just be the new normal for phones in the future, but for now, we're quite satisfied with the results we got. Down at the camera department, the Blackshark 4 is equipped with 3 cameras at the rear. That's a 48-megapixel primary lens, an 8-megapixel ultrawide, and a 5-megapixel shooter for macro photography, while the front employs a 20-megapixel selfie shooter. The main camera produces pretty commendable results, with punchy colors and good contrast. It uses Sony's IMX582 Exmor RS sensor, and in normal shooting mode, it takes 12-megapixel photos to save on storage. Using the 48-megapixel mode feature stitches 4 12-megapixel photos together to give you not just better quality, but enable you to pinch and zoom without losing any detail. Night mode is also a thumbs up on this one, as it's capable of bringing out detail in low light situations. It's not the best out there, but it's definitely usable. The 8-megapixel ultrawide can be accessed by pressing the tab on the lower left rather than having it alongside the rest of the camera's features. When taken in well-lit environments, photos don't stray too far away from the camera of the primary shooter, especially if you don't plan to zoom in on them anyway. And with a field of view of 120 degrees, it leaves you with a pretty wide frame to work with. The 5-megapixel macro lens on this one is thankfully very usable, and is refreshing to have compared to the usual 2-megapixel macros that we see so often. With 3,000 more pixels available, we get better sharpness, more consistent colors, and just complements well with the rest of the phone's cameras.
Now that you've seen how the photos look, why don't we check out video quality?
Alright, so here we have a video test of the Black Shark 4 recording at 1080p at 60 frames per second. And as you can see, we do have some built-in image stabilization as well. There is no option to turn this on or off in the settings though, but I don't think that's going to be much of a problem. So let's just do the usual jogging test. Smooth. And to the left. And to the right. Up. Down. And maybe some jumping. What do you guys think? Is this stable enough? Alright, so here is a video test of the Black Shark 4, but this time we're recording at 4K at 30 frames per second. And as you can see, we do lose some of that stabilization. Actually, we lose all of the stabilization. But for some reason, when you do switch it over to 60 frames per second, which we are going to do right now, we do get that stabilization back. It does zoom in a little bit, but I don't think that's going to be much of a problem either. But let's do the usual jogging test again. Pan to the left. Right. Up. And down. What do you guys think?
To wrap things up, it's no longer surprising to see how mobile gaming is slowly but surely getting better recognition. And with that being said, if you're looking for a bang-for-buck gaming phone, then the Black Shark 4 might just be your answer to that.
You're getting flagship-grade specs, those physical pop-up triggers right by the shoulders, a very acceptable camera, and incredibly fast charging, all encapsulated together at a comparatively more affordable price. The Black Shark 4 will cost you between 22,950 pesos to 27,990 pesos for 6 to 12 gigabytes of RAM, all with 128 gigabytes of storage capacity. And for double that amount, you can get the 12 plus 2 56GB option for 34,990 pesos.
But what do you guys think? Planning on getting one for yourself? Let us know in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to our channel for more content, hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on any future uploads, and be sure to visit yugatech.com for the latest tech news and reviews. Again, this has been Josh, stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.